Sitting for too long, whether on your couch catching up, on Westworld or working at a desk, is very bad for your health. Prolonged sitting, for over 6 hours, has been linked to a whole slew of metabolic disorders like diabetes and obesity, cardiovascular disease, and premature death. In older adults, sedentary behavior may thin out the part of the brain critical to memory formation. Arguably, the only antidote is moving your body as much as possible. But, like with any medicine, there has to be a minimum or optimal dose and frequency, right? 5 minutes of walking for every half hour of sitting. Longevity Hacks is a regular series, from Inverse on the science-backed strategies to live better, healthier, and longer without medicine. In prior studies, a group of researchers found that, if you swapped out 30 minutes of sitting for 30 minutes of physical activity, individuals slashed their risk of death by 17% with light intensity exercise or 34% with moderate to vigorous exercise. Now, if the thought of immediately hitting the treadmill after every episode of Kaleidoscope doesn't sound too appetizing, if condensing physical activity into manageable, bite-sized snacks offered any immediate health benefits, we elected to focus on blood sugar and blood pressure. Aside from the fact they're easy to measure, we wanted something that had clinical relevance that would matter to doctors. Prolonged sitting can lead to muscle atrophy and weakening of your lower body muscles. The researchers had 11 healthy, middle and older aged adults trek into their lab at Columbia University for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, for several weeks, for 5 different trials. During each trial, volunteers tried one specific sitting and physical activity routine, whether a 1-minute break every 30 or 60 minutes or a 5-minute break every 30 or 60 minutes. During the breaks, the volunteers engaged in light-intensity walking on a treadmill. The volunteers were also provided breakfast, which was mostly cereal, and lunch, like vegetable lasagna and potato chips. Blood glucose levels were checked after 15-minute intervals, and blood pressure, a measure of cardiovascular health, every hour during each trial. There was also a control trial, with no physical activity, just 8 hours of doing whatever the volunteers wanted, while sitting in an ergonomic chair. Don't worry, they also had bathroom breaks. Researchers found, among all the different routines, 5 minutes of strolling after 30 minutes of sitting had the greatest impact on short-term health. Blood glucose levels, after a large meal, were down by 58% compared to the control trial. A 1-minute walking break after 30 minutes also led to modest reductions. Blood pressure was down by 4 to 5 millimeters of mercury for all walking break routines compared to the control. This effect is a comparable reduction to what you would expect if you exercise daily for 6 months. Why it's a hack? Think of these micro bursts of physical activity, like taking a daily multivitamin or a much-needed medicine, if you are on one. We kind of see this as a medication. Just like taking your blood pressure medication, you should do this movement every day. They're also a great way to fit in a mood booster, sprinkling in literal peps to your step throughout the day. We also found mental health benefits. Compared to sitting all day, a 5-minute light walks every half hour reduced feelings of fatigue and improved mood. Studies have shown that regular exercise can ease depression and anxiety, with your brain releasing feel-good endorphins and natural cannabis-like chemicals that can enhance your state of well-being. It can also help with cognition and reduce your risk for neurocognitive disorders like dementia, although improved cognition wasn't something this study noticed with any of its short walking breaks. But still, it's the positive reinforcement of feeling good and more productive after a brisk walk or other physical activity that may soften the mild annoyance of getting up in the middle of writing an email and prompt folks to intrinsically continue the healthy habit. I think it's helpful to have those numbers to just give people an idea of what we're talking about or where the benefits work. But the overall recommendation probably needs to be a bit more flexible, figuring out a way that works for you. But I do think highlighting some of the effective outcomes like fatigue is important because that's what ends up providing the motivation to continue. Your 5-minute break doesn't have to involve intensive workouts. It can be as an activity as simple as stretching your muscles. How it affects longevity. While it's reasonable to infer that daily walking breaks throughout your day will, down the road, lead to better health and longevity, the focus of this study is really on short-term health. I think, in the field of exercise historically, it overlooks the emphasis on the acute effects. If you look at guidelines for diabetes management, they say that you should exercise preferably every day of the week, and that's because of the acute effects of exercise and movement on your blood sugar levels. Regular light walking breaks are unlikely to jumpstart your cardiovascular fitness. Does not recommend a super intense workout like Zumba or kickboxing, but they should supplement your main course of exercise, much like multivitamins supplement a healthy diet. You're not going to expect the body to have large adaptations with this kind of light exercise activities. It's also important to bear in mind this study was in healthy, albeit older, individuals in a controlled lab setting. Individuals with chronic conditions, like diabetes or high blood pressure, may see an even greater benefit and maybe within 1 minute of walking or any other light physical activity, versus 5 minutes after 30 minutes. The optimal duration and frequency of walking breaks for people with pre-existing health conditions. We know movement is beneficial, there's no doubt about it. Whether it's a treadmill, desk or under the seat bike, if you can find a way of getting some movement in, I think that's helpful. Our study only testing walking, but we don't have any expectation that any form of aerobic activity would be different, that we'd have different results. Researchers from the American Cancer Society discovered that women who sat more than 6 hours a day were at a 37% increased risk of early death, compared to women who sat for less than 3 hours. Men had a 17% increased risk, even among those who exercised, while another study done in 2012 found that if the average American reduced their sitting time to 3 hours per day, life expectancy would climb by 2 years. Clearly, extended sitting is increasingly being recognized as a significant health hazard, since muscles make up the majority of the body mass, where there are over 600 muscles in our body and all of them work in synchrony to ensure that we function day to day in comfort and ease. But through our daily hectic schedule and time-bound activities, we tend to neglect maintaining the right posture and revert to faulty seating or bad posture, which along with associated stress work affects the muscles the most. Such repeated damage to the muscles is known as repetitive strain injury. RSI damages the muscle fibers. Lack of sleep and our busy schedules prevents the muscles from relaxing, leading to further discomfort and pain. A combination of this leads to constant pain, stiffness, reduced vigor and concentration at work. This common concern and condition, if not addressed by an expert, would lead to chronic myofascial pains. Most would think that undergoing physiotherapy and weight training would help tone, strengthen and relieve muscle pain. The contrary is true with RSI. A sizable majority of office goers in cities work at a desk all day. Remaining in the same position for more than 8 hours a day, and the sedentary behavior not only creates muscle tension but can also contribute to long-term health issues, including neck and shoulder pain, obesity, stress, lower back pain, carpal tunnel syndrome and tendency to develop lifestyle-related diseases such as diabetes and atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease. According to the health expert, there are a number of other drawbacks of prolonged sitting that include sitting for long periods, usually includes poor posture. This puts a lot of pressure on the lower back and results in weaker glutes. Weak glutes mean less stability in the hips and less pushing power with the legs. Poor posture shortens and tightens the hip flexors, which will make one weaker, less flexible, and less mobile. Prolonged sitting also can create tension in the neck and shoulders. Our head weighs at least 5 kilograms, and if someone tips their head forward, their neck muscles are engaged to keep their head from falling further forward. This puts a strain on the muscles of the neck and upper back, often for hours at a time. Typing and scrolling The internet and social media, with our hands in a strained position, can create issues in the forearms and wrists. Poor body posture spills over into other areas of our lives, including any sports or exercise activities we may undertake. This increases the chances of injuries, further compromising the ability to stay active. Anxiety and depression. Employees who reported sitting for longer than 6 hours per day had higher rates of anxiety and depression compared to those who sat for less than 3 hours per day. Women reported higher levels of psychological distress than men. There are several possible causes of this tendency, including poor health due to inactivity, disturbed sleep due to lots of screen time, and social isolation. Dementia, including Alzheimer. Studies exploring the relation between sedentary behavior and cognitive performance have not only shown a link between too much sitting and a reduced ability to focus, but also increasing the risk of Alzheimer's and dementia. Cardio-related exercise is a disciplined activity done to improve blood circulation, health, and fitness, while stretching is the only disciplined activity that helps keep our muscles flexible and healthy. Setting apart time for regular stretching exercise, either at work, home, or the gym, will benefit you. Let us take an IT professional for example, sitting at the desk the whole day, working on the computer, managing the mobile phone, deadlines to keep. The result is neck pain and shoulder pain, as muscles are tense and tight, low back pain due to unsupported wrong seating positions. Specific stretching exercises to these group of muscles at regular intervals for a few minutes through the day removes that RSI, thus relaxing the muscle, preventing pain, and improving mobility. We made extra efforts to produce such kind of informative videos. If you feel that this video gives you some kind of valuable information, then like and subscribe this channel. Share this video with your family and friends. Hit the bell icon so that you will not miss any such kind of informative videos.